All right, welcome to Miraculous Mamas. I have an amazing guest here with me, Sarah Nicole, and I'm super excited to have her on. You guys may know her as the Bird's Papaya, and she is a mom. She is just an advocate for women empowerment, for body positive, for so many different things. She's a writer. She's now a speaker. You are killing the game.
Thanks. I'm like sitting here with like a huge grin on my face. Like that was so nice.
Yeah. So I'm super excited to have her on. She, as soon as I saw your account, I was like, I have to reach out to this person to get her on because it's not just your posts that you put because you're just so powerful in the pictures that you choose to post, but it's also the words that you attach to them.
Yes.
You know, your stories and your vulnerability and just being so willing to be yourself.
Mm-hmm. I know it's taken me a long time to like lean into that and understand that like there is something there and that I do have talent in writing, and it's taken me a long time to like accept that as a compliment. So thank you. I am owning that power now. And it's been so wonderful to kind of dive into this side that I really didn't know I had before, that I think I naturally have always had. I think I always, since I was a child, knew that I had this ability to speak and to share in such a way, but I never really knew how to harness it. So it's been such a beautiful unfolding to kind of use social media as this like medium to express in such a way that has truly, to much of my own surprise, through my own cathartic way of sharing from my own experience, has really connected with other women. And it's been my pride and joy to do so.
Yeah. Yeah. And just so you guys know, I'm at this awesome conference in Toronto. So I get to hang out with Sarah right now. And so I've been hearing her speak all day, and all day I was like, just finger snaps. I'm like, we need to talk about this on the podcast. So we're podcasting from my hotel room, and she brought to my attention that our hotel room offers pleasure kits.
They offer nipple tassels. I'm not going to lie. So getting ready for dinner tonight, I realized that I only packed like a wide strap bra, and I was wearing like a little camisole. So I'm like, crap. I have sticky boobs, but I also have a fake tan on because I have like a swim shoot this week, and I just came home from vacation. So like I like sun care. So like fake tans are the way to go. So I realized if I put the sticky boobs on, it's going to like peel off that layer of skin. And then I'm going to have like this like sticky boob tan line. So I'm like, I'm not committing to that. I can't do it. So I saw on the side table, honestly, I thought it was a swag bag. I was like so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, this conference like gave us this little swag bag, and like, look at the side table. There's like chocolate and candy and like a pleasure kit and nipple tassels. Okay. Maybe that's not what this is.
Right.
It's actually part of the mini bar.
I know.
They're $13 if you want to bring those home. They're sequined and they're black
I would, but
tassels.
I think I already have these. So.
Okay. Funny story though. I put them up on my Instagram story being like, look what's in the mini bar. This is hilarious. And my cousin, who is like a web designer, replies to my story and he goes, so I'm pretty sure I actually designed that packaging years ago because he used to do web design for a sex toy company. And that was like the thing. So I was like, little
full
family
circle.
pride there.
His web design came full circle. That's so amazing.
So funny.
Yeah, but we get the pleasure of being able to do this in person, but also just being around such amazing women this weekend.
Yeah.
So, and Sarah is one of the headlines of the weekend. So it was cool that we got to be able to do this in person because I feel like today I got to hear so much of your heart, and get that in person connection, which sometimes when you're podcasting over the phone and stuff like that, it's you can have it, but it just seems so much more organic when you have someone here.
It's true. And I feel like for whatever reason, when I'm podcasting over the phone, which I do tend to do as well, there is like almost like this ear numbing. Like I don't almost hear myself. I don't feel like I'm having a genuine conversation the same way. And I almost like overthinking where, and that's kind of the power between like stepping out of social media and stepping out from behind those screens and having that personal interaction. I love both. I think that like a phone call can be just as valuable as sitting down and having a conversation, but sometimes they can just bring out a whole different side of you. Like this conference today, we were talking about, I literally just opened it up to anything and we talked for 4.5 hours of everything. And I was a little bit nervous at first when I heard that we had that much time to speak and I was leading this roundtable discussion. And I'm like, are we going to have enough to talk about? And by the time it was done, I was like, I cannot believe we talked for, actually, you know what? It was 5.5 hours. We talked for 5.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
It was beautiful.
That's because, I mean, all the women there were so open, which wasn't what I was expecting. Honestly, when we went around and introduced ourselves, I was like, okay, yeah, it's going to be more of, this is my name, this is why I'm here. And just people got deep right away, which was really cool.
Yeah, I think we were ready for it. I think a lot of us are, as we've all experienced, when we have these online personas and these online social media accounts, sometimes it can feel like just this buildup of stuff that we just want to release into the world, and we're not really sure how to do it all the time. And then it becomes this outpouring that even as simple as, what is your name and what are you doing and what do you hope to take away today, becomes such a bigger question, and it dives into some really deep stuff because we've been holding ourselves behind the squares in which we live on social media, and giving the opportunity to speak and share in a room of like trusted humans can be such a beautiful, like, therapeutic experience. I feel like we really got that today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You had said something similar to that earlier. I was taking some notes when you were talking about things I wanted to talk to you about. Let's see if I can find it on here. I'm not going to remember it, but you had said something about the square, through the squares of which we lived on, referring to social media. And I was like, wow, that is the way that you had worded it. I never really thought of that, because that's how we are portraying kind of our lives to people now.
It's
through a square on
it's
something
so
you
true.
scroll over.
And we call it the highlight reel, and that is true. And I was very caught in that web of the highlight reel until realizing that, like, my own personal happiness wasn't being met behind the squares. And I started experiencing more awareness around what I was taking in on social media, and then wanting to be part of, like, the fabric of change. I really wanted to start having conversations that I needed to have. Like, realistically, I was not in a great place, and I needed to start talking and sharing about things like my body, and sharing about the fact that, like, my marriage had failed, and these really vulnerable things that scared the crap out of me, but somehow through sharing connected me with the right people and had other people connect with me in the right ways. And I mean, I ended up getting kind of accidentally into this whole body positive movement and the postpartum world. And it's been so beautiful because I didn't realize how much it would heal me. And I never meant to kind of be somebody that went out to change the world or change the conversations that we have within ourselves. I just really wanted to have a better experience on social media. And I knew that there must be others that feel the same, and that we can't just treat it as the highlight reel. It's great when we experience that too. I think it can be both. I think it'd be a highlight reel, and I think it also can be like this really vulnerable space in which we can create that reality of reality. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be so curated all the time. And even if we have these beautiful feeds, what we're sharing and the words we're saying are becoming more important than the pictures. And I really believe in that too.
Yeah. Well, and I think that shines through in your content, because it is so thoughtful, you know, and you opening up to share the day to day. I'm going to take a minute to tell you guys about my favorite bra. I don't always wear bras, but when I do, I wear my Third Love bra. And this is a true story. I love the way that it fits. It's so comfortable. My favorite Third Love bra is the one with the really thick straps in nude, so that I can wear it with anything. But I also like the black one because then I feel a little bit sexier, y'all. But one of the things that I love about Third Love is I wasn't even wearing the right bra size before I took the quiz online. I always think that my boobs are a different size than they are, but I actually have big boobs and I just don't like to accept it. I always feel like they're smaller than they are, so I would buy bras that were too small for me. And another reason that I love them is just that they helped me find the perfect fit and to feel comfortable wearing it. They have the Fit Finder quiz, which I took, and over 12 million women have taken the quiz to date. It's actually fun, and you learn. I learned a lot about my boobs taking that quiz. They help you identify your breast size and the shape, because shape matters, and it 100% fit guarantee. Every customer has 60 days to wear it, wash it, and put it to the test. And if you don't love it, then you can return it. Third Love's team of expert fit stylists, they're dedicated to help you find that perfect fit so that you feel just as comfortable wearing it as I do wearing mine. Returns and exchanges are free and easy. And it's hands down the most comfortable bra that you'll own. The straps won't slip. It's tagless, so you don't have it itching on your back. It's very lightweight, super thin memory foam cups that mold to the shape of your breasts and are proprietary to Third Love. They also have new, which I haven't tried yet, incredibly soft, smooth, and breathable cotton bras. But one of my favorite things is that Third Love knows that there's a perfect bra for everyone. And they donate the bras. If you don't like it and you return it, they'll wash it and they donate it to a woman who needs one, which I love companies that give back and don't waste. That is so amazing. But right now they are offering the listeners 15% off your first order. So go to thirdlove.com/babes now to find your perfect fitting bra and get 15% off your purchase. That's thirdlove.com/babes for 15% off today. I know today you spoke about how, you'd kind of started your social media one way, but it has just completely transformed for you.
It has.
And how you are telling your story now through that.
Yeah.
Will you just kind of talk about your journey through that?
Absolutely. So I started Instagram like everybody else. I posted pictures of my kids throughout the day. I was a stay-at-home mom. I had these 3 beautiful babies. I was excited to share about them. And it was this cool new platform called Instagram where we took pictures and we added this like weird blue filter that we all used. And we posted that picture and thought it was the best thing ever. And then I had moved back home to my hometown after like dealing with a lot of like mental stress of like being away from my family. I lived pretty far away from them and moved back home, and I started just having these like what I call light bulb moments where I was really noticing a few things. I was scared to go out in public. I was really worried about people seeing me. Keep in mind, one of my children was born right before I moved away, and then another one after that. And I was always kind of an overweight girl that wasn't like I was like always just kind of on the edge of it. I was about a size 14 all through high school and getting married. I gained a little bit of weight. And then with each kid, I gained a little bit of weight. Nothing drastic, but enough that it added up over time that by the time I was 25 and I had 3 children, I was 225 pounds.
Yeah.
And so moving home to my hometown, I was really embarrassed to go out in public. I had this like weird feeling of, I don't want to run into people. I'm ashamed of being seen. I also noticed how much I was being an absentee mom in the sense that I didn't want to go swimming with my kids because that meant getting in a bathing suit, and that wasn't something I was willing to do. I wasn't even willing to go shopping for the bathing suit in order to be able to get into the pool with them. And there was just like all these weird little moments. And then the third one that really broke me was I had gone to a baby shower of a friend's, and there was pictures posted of it afterwards. And when I saw the picture of myself, it was almost like this out of body experience. I couldn't believe that that was me in the photo. It just kind of like woke me up to, oh my gosh, it's so much worse than I thought. And I hated myself. I was like so devastated. I was so embarrassed that like, this is who I was. And, I couldn't believe that all of these things were happening. So I had no money. I was a stay-at-home mom. My husband at the time was the sole income and he had the car. So here I am stuck at home. Don't really have like exercise equipment. Don't really have even exercise clothing. And I decided to start trying to do something about it. So I started to track my eating, exercise every day, and the weight just like fell off of me, and it was like so cool, and I felt so powerful and so awesome, and like, isn't this amazing? And then people started to notice, and my Instagram slowly but surely started to get really interested in my weight loss story. The problem with that is it also became about my weight loss story. So as I'm kind of journeying through my body postpartum and like all of these things, people are celebrating the fact that like I've lost all this weight. And you know what? There were things to celebrate about it. However, the entire time I was doing it seeking happiness in my body. I was doing it because I thought once I lost the weight, I was going to be so happy with myself. And that those pictures that were posted of me online by somebody else was no longer going to be a source of shame and hate, except that just never happened.
Yeah.
It was like I was 114 pounds. I'm 5'8", by the way, so that's quite small.
Yeah.
And I would stand in the mirror. I would look at myself. I would like everything I saw, I picked apart. Every picture that I took of myself, I would still Facetune a little bit. Like everything if I could just shave off a little bit more. And I had massive body dysmorphia, and I had also created this community that had celebrated my weight loss so much along with me and supported me in a really great way, but it became detrimental to my mental health. And there were things like my stretch marks that I thought, oh my gosh, if I could just get that tummy tuck, if I could just get all of these surgeries done. So now I need to save money for that. And I was like, it was just, and just so you know, I'm not against plastic surgery. I actually really like believe in the woman's like body choice and like authority over her body. But the choice for me was becoming so like, it was almost like my hate had previously been targeted towards my weight. And once the weight wasn't there, it had to retarget itself. So it started retargeting itself everywhere. There was nothing I was happy with, right down to like, I didn't like my toes. I didn't like my ankles. I didn't like the backs of my thighs. I didn't like my cellulite that I was left with, which was a little bit more pronounced after weight loss. My stretch marks were like, I was like, damn it, seriously, I've lost all this weight and I can't wear a bikini. Like this sucks. Like how come my sister has 6 kids and like she doesn't have a single stretch mark on her stomach and I've got them all the way up to my ribs. Yeah. I was not okay taking my shirt off intimately. Like I had so much shame around it. And even when I did share little pieces of it on social media, it was still in a very curated way. So I started to explore that. And I started to completely change the conversation in which I was sharing on social media, which was not easy, but it was important because my mental health was tanking. My marriage was over. I was now a single mom of 3 who had moved in with her parents at 30. And I was very thin and everyone was congratulating me on like how thin I was. And I was like, well, I'm really actually not doing so great. So how do we start changing those conversations around our body? How do I actually learn to love myself? And how do I empower my body and empower these things that happened, like, you know, looser breasts and a sagging tummy that realistically, weight loss or not, was probably going to be there because I had some really big babies as well. And I had these stretch marks, and I started to decide before I jumped into anything on plastic surgery realm, I really just wanted to explore if I could love it, if I could take the time to honor it. And I got asked by an underwear company who had seen one of my posts if I would pose for an underwear shoot. And it was like, okay, but also I've only ever shared these things in the way that I've shared them. So now I had to hand over the camera to somebody else and allow them to share my body, which was terrifying. But what came out of that was the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced in my whole time on social media. And that was all these women commenting, and they weren't commenting to me. They were commenting to this picture. And all of them were saying, in all of my years, I have never seen a stomach like mine. I've never seen stretch marks like mine. I thought I was alone. I thought I was the only one that had cellulite like that. I thought I was the only one. And I was like, wait, me too. I thought I was the only one. How did we not know about each other? How was there thousands and thousands of women, if not millions, who shared these similar postpartum experiences? How am I, 8-9 years after having my last baby and I'm finally getting it, that this is actually an incredibly normal experience? And how do I share that with more people? So coming through that, I am now happily remarried. I still have my 3 babies, and I no longer want to cut the stretch marks off my belly. They're actually one of like my pride and joy. They're like my signature now. I've learned that I can actually wear a bikini even though I have them. And I shouldn't even say even though. I can wear a bikini like full stop.
Because
like that's the end of it. There is no prerequisite for anything that we're doing in the world. I'm such an advocate for body inclusivity. I'm a size medium, and I rarely see a body like mine represented. So you know what? That's fine. If it's not there yet, I'm going to at least represent it for myself. And I love seeing women of all different shapes and sizes be included in the conversation. It's been eye-opening to kind of share these stories with each other and see the uprise of the stretch mark and the cellulite in normal media and advertising. It's been so cool to be, like we said, the fabric of change and the fabric of what we share and how we look at our bodies and how we talk to ourselves every single day. And if I can be even just the tiniest voice for somebody to help them understand by sharing through my story of how positive self-talk and exploring my self-hate instead of just like trying to suppress it, became this baseline for an incredibly beautiful life that I pretty much never expected to have. It's a really weird thing to have a body. I think it's kind of hard I have a hard time like kind of wording this, but a lot of people would not imagine that a body of like mine would feel and look so beautiful. And yet that's exactly what I feel like I am. And it's been so cool. So yeah, that was my big story and my big pivot. And here we are now, and I get to speak to women and I get to share stuff online, and that's kind of my job now. And it's, I mean, awesome. It's awesome that my job is literally just to love myself and to talk to other people about how they can do the same.
Right. Yeah. I really relate to your story when you said like you had moved back home and you didn't want to go in public, because through my healing through my eating disorder, my weight fluctuated a lot because I would lose weight. And then when I was trying to get healing and I wasn't relying on my disease anymore, I gained weight.
Yes.
And it was so hard finding that balance of being ashamed of myself, you know, but me being, no, actually, I'm really healthy right now.
Yeah.
And I had, you know, the comments that you would get, we talked about this over dinner earlier with some of the other women, but if you're on that journey of weight loss, the comments that you get aren't supportive.
Yeah.
You know, I clearly remember after a breakup, I had lost some weight, and I was working out a lot, but I also wasn't eating.
Yeah.
You know, and I was drinking a lot and I was not being healthy. And I'd run into my ex-boyfriend and he was like, damn, you look good. Why didn't you look like that when we were together?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That is actually the worst.
And I'm like, and at the time he had a new girlfriend who had a 6-pack. She was like shredded.
So comparative nature comes in.
Right. And you know, I was probably my smallest at that point, but I was really depressed.
Yeah.
And I wasn't happy. And, you know, it kind of made my disease worse. But being able to, you know, start to own who I am. And I think that the thing that made it a lot easier for me too, I was so excited when big butts became cool.
Oh my gosh, right?
Because I've always had a booty, and I remember growing up though, they weren't cool.
They weren't cool.
And I've always had a little curve going on, and I was like, man, big butts are cool now. I can like own myself.
I know. I have to read this out to you because I wrote this post the other day, and it was all about hopefully my phone doesn't die. But I basically did research on that because so many women have this like experience of there's something about their body that they're really ashamed about. And then suddenly it became societally like really cool. So this is what I wrote. I'm just going to quote my thing here. In 1910, the ideal women's body was small, corseted waist, and a large bosom. By 1920, the flapper girl image emerged. Flatter, straighter, tiny legs. In 1930, the curves were back. Be more sexy. 1940, hold off on the sexy. We want you to be more feminine. 1950, Marilyn Monroe was the goal body, and weight gain tablets began to show up on the shelves. In 1960, they said, hold up, lose that weight, slim as in. Twiggy was now the ideal. In 1970, let's trim those hips and get bigger shoulders. That's what we want. 1980, just kidding, changed again. Can you be more tall and athletic? Okay, thanks. 1990, heroin chic. Be as thin as you can. It's hot. 2000, we want abs. 2010, wait. We want butts and boobs.
Yes.
And it's like... Holy crap. Every decade, it's actually changed. The society standard for women has changed, and it's always one. There's always like one mold that we're supposed to be, and everything else is crap. Where men get to be whatever the heck they want to be.
Right.
And there isn't a timeline for a men's body image because they don't have that same experience. So it's so funny to me when I hear you say something like that wasn't cool. That's because like, I don't know how old you were because I'm guessing that you grew up in the time of like the 90s and the 2000s when it was be as thin as you can and have abs.
Right.
That was the standard. And now it's like, okay, no. Now we just want you to have butts and boob. So I have the flattest butt. And that was like a weird thing when that curve happened because I was like, I'm thin, but like I don't have the booty. It's like we always have something that we can't have, right?
But it's nice because we do have a time now where there are women like yourself who are giving a voice. Like I can go online and find somebody like myself.
You can find your community now.
Right. And it doesn't even have to be people who look like me. It has to be people who love me and believe in me and who are shamelessly standing in who they are because that gives me permission to do the same.
Absolutely. And coming back to your point about like the weight loss and weight gain, like my husband said this to me one time and it's always stuck with me, but like life ebbs and flows, and so does our body.
Yeah.
And the fact is
true.
we niche ourselves into, but if I was just my pre-baby, if I was just what I was in high school, the fact is, think about those times. Were you happy with your body then? Likely not. Likely you picked it apart the same way that you do now. It's just that now you become nostalgic about it and you see it with rose-colored goggles, and you wish you had appreciated what you had then, but you could also do the same thing with your body in right this moment right now. And the problem with the commentary, which I fall into all the time and I'm getting so much better about, was we do want to say congratulations to someone when we see they've lost weight, even if we have no idea what's going on in their world. We congratulate it because we celebrate thinness. And at the same time, we don't know what to say when somebody's gained weight, even if it's like the actual best thing for them.
Right.
Or people might say, oh my gosh, you look so much better now that you put a little bit of meat on your bones. Like all of the commentary on our body is just actually not okay.
Right.
It's so much better for us to just like honor our bodies and honor the changes and be okay with the fact that we're going to ebb and flow. I was talking earlier today about the fact that I'm in the middle of like a health diagnosis. We don't really know what's going on, but I've gained weight. And for the first time, I'm like, that's okay. Like, you know what?
Yeah.
It's totally cool. We're dealing with something. Nothing else has changed in my lifestyle. So like, I'm not going to worry about it. Something's going on. We're going to figure it out. And it's okay. My mental health didn't tank for the first time in like a really long time. It didn't tank with a weight fluctuation. And I thought, you know what? It's okay to like buy a bigger size pant. Why are we so focused on a single number?
Right.
At the same time, lay out your pants. I have 3 different pairs of pants that are all different sizes. But we still create this identity around numbers and sizes and measurements, and we forget that like we're just human beings and this is our vessel to carry like beautiful souls that are meant to enjoy life and have balance and have memories with each other. And there is a huge piece for me that just realized that a lot of my memories with my children have like this massive heartbeat of me hating myself. I remember being at the poolside with my kid, but I remember more about what I felt about my body that day than I remember how much they dove into the water. It distracts us. So having this self-hate, it distracts us from our most important moments in life. And at the end of our life, we're not going to be celebrating what size we were when we were 30. We're going to be celebrating, you know, the life we led and the people we loved. So I think sometimes it's like peeling back and like being okay to like be in the moment and be in our bodies and just enjoy and celebrate each moment, even if we're changing, even if we're losing weight, even if we're gaining weight, just like choosing to live in that moment and celebrate it and honor our bodies like every step of the way.
Yeah. I'm going to take a second to tell you a little story about how last week it snowed a few inches, and then 2 days ago it was 80 degrees. And now it's 50 degrees, and we are in the thick of what we like to call the Chicago summer. I can see the warm weather ahead where I want to lay out in my bikini, and it's just not there. It's like one day you feel like you can, and then you can't. But this time of year, it does get me motivated to start working out. After all of the wedding craze and honeymoon craze, I am ready to start feeling healthy again. And for me, it doesn't always look like going to the gym and, being intimidated by all of the machines there. And that's why I love Open Fit. They're bringing something new that makes it even easier to work out from home. They take all the complexity out of getting in shape, and it's brand new, super simple streaming service that allows you to work out from the comfort of your living room in as little as 10 minutes. And everybody's bodies are different, and OpenFit gets that, which is why it is personalized to your needs and custom tailored with original content. It's super simple. You can not worry about going and finding the parking space and finding people for machines at the gym. They have amazing classes. The one that I'm super into right now is the Extend Bar class by Andrea Rogers. They have the 30-minute workouts. I like the bar classes because I got a big booty and I feel like I have to tone it. I actually have a very muscular booty, so it feels good when I work it out. And the bar classes always leave my butt burning. The cool thing that I love about it too is that you can access it anywhere, anytime. I've been traveling for work a little bit, and sometimes when I travel, I don't feel like working out, but sometimes I do. You don't always eat what you normally would at home. I spent a few days in Toronto where I was just eating out every single meal. So I did one of these workouts in my hotel room. And the cool thing that I love about them as well is you do get results that you can see and you just feel great. I always feel great after a workout. OpenFit has changed the way that I work out, and with the code BABES, you can join me on this journey that you can personalize just for you. Again, the code is BABES to start using OpenFit for your journey to a healthier life. Right now, during the OpenFit 30-day challenge, listeners get a special extended 30-day free trial membership to OpenFit, where you can get in shape and feel better in just 30 days when you text BABES to 303030. You will get full access to OpenFit, all of the workouts and nutrition information totally free. Again, text BABES to 303030. Standard message and data rates may apply. I know through my healing, I didn't weigh myself for a few years. Mm-hmm. And it's still something I rarely do now.
Yep.
I don't really ever think about it. I did it a while ago just kind of out of curiosity. And to me, I had learned that was just a number. Because when I felt my healthiest, it was a bigger number than, when I was smaller and I was getting all these compliments. But it's but people didn't know what I was going through then.
It's true. I know. Even like, we relate health back to weight a lot, and it's not untrue, but I recently took my daughter to the doctor and we were discussing certain things. She had some symptoms of some stuff. So we went to the doctor for like a checkup. And I said to her, she's like, and how much does she weigh? And I'm like, we actually don't have scales in our home anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there is some issues around like body dysmorphia and stuff. And so we've removed them. And she was like, that's okay. And she's like, how about we have her stand backwards on the scale so that she doesn't see the number? And I was like, thank goodness. Like,
that's awesome.
The medical realm can like see the number and treat it if it needed to be, but she didn't need to see it. She didn't need to create her identity around it. And it was like, she might do it on her own sometime and she might do that. But for me, the moment that I broke up with the scale was in the middle of a move. And I guess my husband had a scale and I had a scale, and we were merging lives and merging homes. And I had been, in moving over, I'd been starting to use his scale. I gained like these 5 pounds and I was like feeling really crappy about myself. And I mean, for weeks I was like, crap, like I need to go back and like relook at my eating. I need to like work out more. Like, what have I been doing wrong? Like, oh my gosh, everything suddenly didn't fit right on me. So every time I looked in the mirror, I was just like, oh my gosh, like I can see it. I can see the 5 pounds. And then we moved all my stuff in and unpacked my scale, and I got on it and just realized the scales actually were 5 pounds different.
Oh my gosh.
And so I had beat myself up over this number that was completely falsified, that actually made me treat myself differently, that made me feel less confident when I was going out, that made me start create a dialogue of like self-hate again. And I was like, whoa. Like I'm done. Like I'm actually done. And I broke up with the scale, and it was really healing for me, but it's also like created anxiety at first. I started to like make up the number for a while. Like I would just like, oh, I feel fat, therefore I am fat.
Yeah.
And then it kind of peeling back, like, why is that the worst thing that could happen to me? Why do I have fat phobia? Like fat is like fingernails. We have it. We aren't it. Like it's so, I love that saying, but like it's just
I've never heard that.
Oh, like it's like, you have fat, you are not fat. Just like you have fingernails, you are not fingernails. It's part of us. It's part of our bodies. It's there for a reason. And we all have differing levels of it in different places, in different spots. Sometimes it grows, sometimes it shrinks. And like, just kind of owning that like the body is actually a really miraculous thing. And I think we sometimes forget to like thank it for doing a really good job, for doing exactly what it was supposed to do.
Yeah. I love what your husband said though about the ebbs and flows of life.
Oh my gosh.
Because that's so true.
So true. We beat ourselves up over like 10 pounds here and 10 pounds there. And like he was saying it from the perspective of, he's like, yeah, like every year I usually like lose 30 pounds, where he goes on like, I shouldn't call it a health kick, but he does. Like he suddenly becomes like a little bit more aware of like his eating habits. And he's like, I just need to stop like night snacking and doing things like that. And then he's like, but then every summer I love beer so much. So then it just comes back, and he's like, it ebbs and flows with me. And I was like, gosh, I love your attitude, because he's like, but I love beer. Yeah. That makes me happy too. So like, I want to stay healthy, but I also like want to honor like the things that make me happy. And I really love having beer in the summer on the patio. And I was like, good. And the thing is, I've seen him do the flux of 30 pounds every single year since I've been with him. And like, there's never a moment I'm less attracted to him. It is not about that. And when I started to realize that in my own awareness with him, I started realizing that I didn't have to worry so much about myself in that same way. And like coming back to that point you were saying about that ex that saw you and made that comment, one of the biggest things that I think we're often worried about is presenting our bodies that have changed to our husbands or our spouses or our partners, whoever they are, that we feel this shame of change and like, what are they going to see? What are they going to experience? Are they going to be disgusted by me and like the things that have happened? The problem is when we're not showing up, we haven't given them the experience to see how beautiful and attractive it is because we're hiding, we're shaming ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, I wore t-shirts because I was so afraid of like my stretch marks and stuff like that. And the problem is when men are scrolling social media, they're doing the same thing we are. They're only seeing these certain types of women, these certain types of body types, because nothing else is being represented to them either. Not to say that like they're totally not at fault for some of the comments that they make and the thoughts that they have. However, it's really important for us to not like, we're dealing with our shame and we're coming through that, but it's important for us to, in that process, to involve men in the conversation too. It's been really healing for me to kind of like share the fact that like I've had a lot of insecurities about certain things and realize that I had kind of made up in my own head what he was attracted to and what was a big deal, and it actually wasn't at all. Yeah. And I was it wasn't protecting him from thinking something of me. I was protecting myself from something that I thought was shameful. And once I released myself from that, it was like it allowed me to actually have intimacy in the way that I deserve and a love that I deserve. Mm-hmm. And in the same way, he got to experience whole me and not like pieces of me that I decided he could only share. There was a long time where like even spooning, like after having a baby and losing weight, you know, you lay on your side and everything just like to the side. And I was like, he would spoon me and I'd be like, no hands there. Like, no, like you can't touch me there. And then I remember one day I finally like took his hand and I like put it on my stomach, and like it makes me emotional thinking about it because it was like such a moment. Like it was such a like, this is me, this is my body. And like it was such a beautiful moment, not only for him, but like for me, that we could share this intimacy and this amazingness of my body that birthed these children, that lost this weight, and they aren't even his kids. He didn't even know me through the weight loss. So it was really a nice experience to be able to say, you know what? I'm still somebody worth loving, and I'm going to let you love me.
Yeah.
And it was important for him to kind of see that. And now it's like, it's so cool because I'm like, you know what? You can be the voice of change too. Like he has that ability now, like to honor and celebrate women of all different shapes and sizes. And I hope that like more women choose to like show up on the beaches in their bikinis and their stretch marks so that it becomes normalized for little girls and for little boys and for men and for women everywhere.
Yeah. That's so beautiful. That's so awesome that you were able to get to that moment. Because I have people that I know that feel like they still can't show up themselves in their relationships, but you aren't allowing that person to love all of you.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, the stretch mark thing I had mentioned earlier because there was a picture I wanted to post where you could see my stretch marks, which I posted it earlier.
Good.
But I was nervous about it. But I got stretch marks in junior high when I hit puberty.
Yep.
And like my sister didn't get them. I got them. I became curvy. She stayed thin. And I remember people asking me about them.
Yeah.
And me feeling super self-conscious. And people being like, why do you have stretch marks?
Like, where did that come from?
Right. Yeah. Because at that time I was still really small.
Yeah.
You know, but it did make me feel self-conscious. And so, but I also didn't really have that conversation. I didn't have anyone to talk to, I guess, about that. Yeah. I think we share some commonalities we grew up in Christian communities, and I was really scared to talk to my mom. I didn't talk to her about my body changing, about, you know, my insecurities really, or things like that. So I think that it's awesome that, these conversations are becoming more normal because it also makes it a mom listening to this, you know, giving her permission to be like, wow, maybe that is something I can talk to my daughter about.
Yes.
You know, if her body's changing, or, hey, these things might happen, and that's awesome. That's a beautiful part of becoming a woman.
Yeah.
And, you know, like letting people know that you do experience this growing up. Like maybe like my sister didn't experience that, but I did.
Yeah, I know. It's so like I was saying, my sister doesn't have the stretch marks on her stomach, but she recently just had her first C-section, and I watched her struggle through wow, this is this scar, and it creates like this, like a lot of people have like this flap that happens. And I mean, she's a very thin girl. So for her, it was like, oh, wow, I have this whole other thing to deal with that she'd never been dealing with before. And I mean, it took me a long time to kind of come to terms with the body changes of what I'm doing, and coming back to like what I was saying earlier, thanking it for doing a good job. Like realistically, your body grew through puberty and it's stretched like it was supposed to, because skin is inelastic and it was meant to help you grow. My body didn't have my skin didn't have the ability to grow those 9-pound babies without having these, like, I always talk about like those travel expanders that we all have in our luggage now, where like when you pack too much and then you had to like unzip the second zip and then it gives you more luggage space. When I look at stretch marks that way, I was like, man, you know what? They were not a comfortable experience. They were painful for a while, and they still can be. But, and I don't mean emotionally, I mean like they're actually physically painful when they came on. But my body was doing its job. It did exactly what it was supposed to. And the alternative would have been that it didn't grow at all. And that would have been a really scary reality to think that like my body wouldn't have expanded to allow my children to grow to their full, healthy, beautiful selves and to birth into this world. I can't believe that I had taken what an amazing miraculous experience and put it into this box of, well, did you have to get stretch marks? Like now I can never be normal. And the fact is it's actually very, very normal.
Right. Yeah.
And like I have stretch marks on my breast, but I never really, they were pretty hideable. So there's a lot of things like that didn't really bother me. But for whatever reason, my stomach one, they really, really bothered me for a long time, even right down to like when I had like maternity photos done, I asked for the photographer to like edit them out because I was so just like, I can't let this be my body. That's not going to be what I present to the world. I need to have the picture perfect belly like I saw everyone else have. And normalizing things that are normal is really important for our mental health. And not only that, for our children, we're, like we said again, like changing that fabric of society and norms. And my kids don't know my body without them. Without these stretch marks, and mine are quite severe compared to what a lot of people experience. So they're quite wide, and I posted a very close-up photo of them one time, and someone was like, "I have never seen stretch marks like that, and they are freaking. It's like art on your body." And I was like, "Isn't that cool that we're literally celebrating these things that I was so ashamed of for so long?" But my kids see them all the time. They don't know life without them. Like they always are barging into the bathroom and I'm going to change, like whatever. And my son would literally just like run his finger along them. And my daughter was always like, "These are so cool." And I love it because thankfully I had the mind enough to not shame myself about them. I would always just say like, "You gave me those, like, thank you." And I was like trying to have such a good attitude about it. But now I realize that chances are genetically they will probably experience the same. My son has a very high chance of one day maybe marrying a girl and maybe having a baby. And, you know, perhaps her body changes with it. And I want him to be prepared to love that new body and to embrace that change along with her, because it's not easy. And sometimes it's just like, "Hey, my body did a good job. I don't love you for it yet, but like, thank you anyways. And like, I'll get there." Cause it took me 9 years to get there. Well, almost 9 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd love to just talk a little bit more about your motherhood journey because so you have 3 kids. How old are they?
I do. They're all having birthdays right now. So little spring chickens, 13, 11, and 9.
Yeah.
2 girls and a boy.
That's so fun. And your boy's the baby.
He's the baby. My little Bodie.
Oh my gosh.
His name's Bowden. So it's Maya, Gemma, and Bowden. And he's my little beau. And yeah, he's definitely like, I mean, when I was a single mom, it was just me and the girls. We had like 3 mothers, and then there was Bowden. So anything would happen to him, and all the women would just swarm him and be like, "Oh, our Bodie." So he loves that role. He also is like, if he has $1 in his pocket, he's like, all of a sudden like Gatsby, and he's like, "You want me to buy you that coffee? I'll buy you that coffee." And I'm just like, get out of here. You have $1 to your name. You're not like a baller.
Right.
He's just got like, he loves his women. It's really cute.
Oh, that's fun. How was, I guess, going through being a single mom and then entering the dating world again?
So funny. I feel like I had such a backwards experience from a lot of people because I get asked this a lot. Like, how did you manage dating? I didn't mean to. I really didn't. I met my husband at work. I was very recently divorced. I started this job 2 weeks after my divorce out of sheer necessity. It's such a strange story, but I was actually sitting and having coffee with my ex-husband, just like 2 weeks after I had walked out and moved in with my parents. I mean, this was like really a scary conversation to be having of this is where this is going. And, he was talking about a lot of things, and I got this phone call from an old high school friend, and I looked at my phone and I was like, oh, okay. And I looked at him and I was like, I gotta go. I gotta take this call. And I left and I took this phone call, and it was my friend saying, I'm going on mat leave. We didn't really prep for this. I think we thought the company was going to be okay not replacing me, but now we realize we need somebody part-time. I think you're perfect for it. We had worked in like Baskin Robbins in high school and stuff. And she was like, would you come in and interview for it? We don't really have anybody else lined up. So I was like, yeah, I will. I was working as a bar server and living at my parents' house, which the bar serving job was actually the funnest thing ever. So like, no, like shame there. It was so good for me. But I went and took this job, and on the very first day saw this man who I knew was going to be important in my life. Like I knew it from the moment I saw him, but I didn't really know what that meant, and I had no interest in dating. I mean, I'm in the trenches of divorce. Right. This is not fun. In Canada, you have to be separated for a year before you are legally divorced, so it's an awkward time. You don't really know what to do with yourself. You're like, am I allowed to date? Am I not? So I just allowed myself to be alone, and I really, really loved that. There was part of me that felt so much shame about being a single mom because it wasn't normal for me and my family. Like I didn't really have a lot of experiences or shared stories around divorce. I didn't really know what that looked like. And I didn't like know how to go to church by myself with like my 3 kids. Like I honestly just had so much shame around it. And then actually going through it and connecting with like other single moms and other women, I was like, this is actually the most powerful season I'm ever going to have in my life. And then I began to love it. Mm-hmm. But, there's this guy I was very like, because I was in this weird bubble of what am I allowed to do? What am I not going to do? We obviously had a very good connection. He had just recently gone through a breakup as well. And we started hanging out in like a group setting because my best friend, who I actually met in a bar serving thing, she's like 10 years younger than me, but she had this, I mean, I'd have to sit her down to talk about it fully at some point, but when I told her what was going on in my personal life, she started showing up a lot. She became like my co-parent. My parents were traveling a lot. My parents were really there for me as well. Like give full credit to my parents for also raising my kids with me. But she just started coming and showing up and helping me throw birthday parties for them or helping me just like, she'd be like, hey, can I take one of the kids grocery shopping with me? I think it'd be fun. But what she was really doing was like helping. And she was doing it in a way that like I couldn't really say no to. So we took the kids bowling one day and we invited Shane and we all went out together. And I looked up and it wasn't even like 2 minutes in and the kids were just like at his side. They were magnetized to this man. And I was like, oh, wow, like they love you. And he's like, well, I love kids. And I was like, now being with him for a long time, I realized that all dogs and children love Shane. It's just like something he does. But it was so attractive to just like see the kids like go to him. And I really wanted them to have some of those experiences. So when they really fell in love with him, they just started to wheel and deal the whole thing. And so we had privately, we knew there was no really like progression between us not being a couple to being a couple. It kind of just was like a thing. And, the kids were obsessed with him. And my middle daughter, who is like so cute, she was like, do you like my mom? Like, do you like her? Like, do you want to go on a date with her? I think she likes you too. Like, I think you should. And then she beat me and she's like, I'm pretty sure Shane's going to like ask you on a date. So then we finally decided to like announce it to the kids. We'd been dating privately for a little while and we'd all been hanging out still as friends, but not like publicly. And we decided to tell them and it was like a day of celebration. It was like a beautiful, beautiful thing. And they have just loved having him part of like our parenting community. I want to call it part of our village. Yeah. They respect him, love him. Living with him has been like a treat for them. He stepped into the dad role like he was born to do it. And I think they were always meant to be his children. And I think that they were always meant to be raised by this village of people. And I'm okay with that now. I think it was really hard for me stepping out of being like the stay-at-home mom who did everything. You know, I was the one who did it all to being like, I'm working 2 jobs and I'm going to need some help. And there's going to be a lot of people to raise these kids with me. And there are times like even my daughter, when we were talking about, preparing her for her first period. And I looked at her and my best friend Ariana and I were standing there and I said, listen, one of us is going to have to teach you this. Which one of us do you want it to be? And she goes, I want Ariana. And I was like, okay, here you go. Tag team time and you go teach her how to do the things. And that's how we've always been. And even to this day, she still remains being the person that shows up. We have traditions together as like friends, and we have traditions with Shane, and we have traditions with the grandparents. Like, I've really just embraced this collective, and I feel the same way of my ex. I'm like team rooting for stepmom. Like, I would love for there to be another person. And I really had to choose that attitude about it, but that I can't wait for them to have another person to love on them. And what a cool opportunity that'll be for them, that perhaps one day they have another parent that can maybe teach them things that I never would have been able to, or maybe is available when I'm not, and maybe can answer some of those questions that I don't have experience in, or whatever it is. Like, I can't wait for them to be more members of the team. And I've really just loved the experience. But dating, I mean, the one thing I found has been really important with that is like taking that time to be away. So we've taken a trip, each year that we've been dating, just to be ourselves. And the first one really scared me because, to be honest, I was like, what if we spend all this time together and we're just like a high functioning couple, but we're actually not that connected? Yeah. The fact is, we're actually a really high functioning couple that's actually really highly connected as well. So it's been good. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But taking that time away to like focus on just us as human beings is, I mean, he never had a chance to get to know me without being the woman who had multiple jobs and 3 children and a house to maintain and bills to pay. And he wasn't going to be my knight in shining armor. I never would let him be it. He could be like the person who fought alongside me, but he was not going to rescue me, and he never has. So we remain both being people who both earn in the home. And that's kind of a curve too, because I was very used to being like the support, and now I'm like, sometimes I need support, and that's cool too. So like, I mean, I'm away right now and he's at home holding down the fort. So it's great. Yeah.
That's so awesome. I mean, it sounds like you had a super positive journey. So it wasn't
crazy.
Maybe a typical.
I know. And I get a lot of questions of like people saying like, how did you introduce him as your boyfriend? And I think it's just because we had the different experience of, he was met as a friend, so they were very comfortable with him that way. But I know it's very common for kids to kind of have that fear and that discomfort around like a new parenting role that comes in. And I don't really have a lot of real advice about it. But one thing that has been really important for me is, and in my relationship with Shane, was that he actually made the commitment to me to be a part of the kids' lives, regardless of where our relationship went, so that it alleviated the pressure off the relationship that if we broke up, because, you know, if you get a divorce from their father, they still get to see their father in most cases. But if you separate from a secondary relationship, that child loses that relationship potentially forever. There is a little bit of a choice there. Yeah. And I couldn't make that for him, but he did make that commitment to me, and it alleviated a lot of the pressure off of the relationship, that I knew that we could fully just continue to make choices around it, which was really nice.
Yeah. One thing that I just really took away from spending time with you today, and something that you can just see from your social media stance as well, as all these women were sharing their stories, you're so validating of people, which is such a beautiful gift to have. You're so open about your story, but like as these people are sharing theirs, you're not like, oh yeah, like you are so validating of how they feel right now and meeting people where they're at.
I think it's so important. Yes. Where I think there's at some point I read about like destination addiction is like that feeling of it's always going to get better at the next step, and we don't honor our spot right now. Realistically, I had to go through a lot of crap to understand like how beautiful life is right now. And I'm not going to be victim to all that part of my story anymore. I'm going to own how it built who I am today. And I think when we honor and are more aware of our feelings and our emotions around things, it's really great to like feel okay. Like I'm still somebody who struggles with mental health. I have really bad anxiety, and a lot of people think you have it all together. And the fact is like, sometimes we don't, and that's okay too. And just like honoring that moment and being like, it's okay to not be okay. Yeah. And it's okay to like not have it all together. Even if we're somebody who's teaching how to have it together, that can be a really powerful thing. And just like owning your emotions around things and listening to yourself. Like, what is it that you want to say? What is it that you want to take away from this day, from this experience, from this message, from this post? Like, do you want to just make somebody smile? Make them smile. Right. If you want them to think about their body in a different way, challenge that thinking a little bit. If you want them to feel like they can do amazing, powerful things, show them how you did it. And that is kind of one of the cool experiences about Human Connection, is that I never would have been able to get through the seasons of being a single mom and like parts of my postpartum experience and everything if it wasn't for the community that I found that were that same way. And it's there. It's all there for us. We can find those people and have them connect with our journey and be exactly what we need them to be. And we can be those people too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Is there anything so a lot of the listeners, again, they're just, it's either moms or people who want to be moms one day, or even wanting some women empowerment. But is there just anything that you'd like to leave with the listeners?
I think I just come back to the word awareness. Start like really taking in everything that you're thinking and feeling. I think a lot of times we're like, I don't really know how to love myself, but we do in a sense, because at the end of the day, we know certain moments in our life and what makes us feel beautiful. Why does that make us feel beautiful? What is it that made us feel strong in that moment? What is it that made us feel powerful? Why was emotion drawn out of us when we read that post and that conversation? When we start to peel away what makes us feel good and what makes us feel bad, it can actually build us into being better people, better mothers, better creators, better like individuals, because we start to pour into ourselves. And when we understand, like I relate it back to being in a relationship with anybody else. You're getting to know somebody. You get to know the intricacies of like who they are and what they like. And we take them on dates and we do things and we spoil them with the nice words and the nice gifts. And we do those things, but we forget to do that for ourselves.
Yeah.
We forget that like our most valuable relationship is the one with ourselves. And if we want to be able to teach others how to love us, we have to be able to love ourselves first. And that is, that starts with awareness, and it starts with like pinpointing the moments that make you feel joy. And it can be really weird things. Sometimes I'll be like driving in the car and, you know, in the fall, the leaves will like be falling down and there's like this moment and I'm like, this is making me happy. And it just is like, I love this moment. Like just creating awareness around that, or you see somebody's post on social media and you're like, man, seeing her do that, it makes me feel so much better about my body. And like, I feel so much confidence seeing her confidence. Or maybe it's in just like seeing how somebody parents their kid and like, why do you adore that? What is it, the part of your childhood that you really loved and you really adored? How do you tap into those certain things? And that changes who you are as a mother. And I think that when I started to tap into what made me happy as a person, it made me a better mother and a better wife and a better friend and a better daughter and a better sister, I would hope. But all of those things just all comes down to just being aware.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
I feel like I could listen to you all day long. I did listen to her all day long.
You did. For 5.5 hours. How are you not sick of me?
I am not. And I'm super excited for tomorrow. We're, more of the conference is going on tomorrow, but I just feel like you have, just in your transparency, you are able to share so much. And just your openness, you know, and your validating of people allows people to feel heard and feel seen. And that opens them up for change.
Yes.
To have that courage to love themselves. So that is...
What a courageous thing that is.
Yeah.
What a rebellious act, eh? To love ourselves.
So rebellious. Where can people find you and follow your journey?
You know what? Hang out with me on my wheelhouse. It's going to be Instagram, The Bird's Papaya. That's where you'll find me. My own podcast is coming out at some point when I finally do it. The
One
Papaya
day.
podcast will come. It's coming. We're manifesting.
Yes.
Yeah, find me there. It's going to give you the links to everywhere else. And completely feel free to email me. Like, drop me a line anytime. I love connection. It's so important to me. I don't have all the time in the world, but I give a lot of myself back into my channel. So Human Connection is my jam. Let's do it.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for being here, Sarah. And if you guys aren't a part of our Facebook group yet, it's Miraculous Mamas. We have tons of women there who have questions, and we have a great community there. There's also the Miraculous Mamas Instagram. And don't forget to like and share this episode. We will see you next week.
This podcast is brought to you by Wave Podcast Network. Check out all of our shows, including the Brain Candy Podcast, I Don't Get It, Coffee Convos, and Let's Talk About It.